Hi everyone. You've made it back to Matt Talks, and this week I wanted to talk about customer loyalty. It's a thing that I care deeply about, and it is important because I want to have an emotional connection to the hotels that I book. And often hotels fail in this area, but if there's anything that is important with regards to customer loyalty, is that this is the most affordable channel to find customers. I often talk about the website being your most important salesperson because it's a very affordable channel. If you get a customer that has stayed with you before and they might have booked through an expensive channel, the next time that they book, it is your job to make sure that they book direct because this is the cheapest, most affordable channel for you as a hotel company. And this is the kind of business that you want to drive. But it isn't easy because there's a lot of competition out there and you need to do a really good job. So what I wanted to do with this Met Talks is really break down, the different types of hotels. And sometimes you might want to do a loyalty program. Sometimes you need a brand, and sometimes it's just a book direct program that works really well because there is very limited return business for your hotel, and that's okay. It's just important that we acknowledge that so that you focus your attention on different channels and segments. So what I'll do is I'll break down this talk into four distinct segments. Firstly, I'll talk about what is customer loyalty. Secondly, I'll talk about whether it makes sense for you to join a major global brand or whether you should go at it alone. The third part is really when you start to say, hey, yes, I am going to go at this alone. And if you start thinking about building a loyalty program, what are the major components of your thinking? And then the last piece of this is really what do you keep in mind as you've launched this program or a book direct program? How do you drive that program operationally? Because there are a lot of things that you should think about operationally. You cannot just tell your marketing team to just say, hey, do a loyalty program and then expect them to make that all happen. This is a complete cross-functional team effort across the brand if you want to make loyalty work. And this is why most loyalty programs that are run by independent hotels don't really get traction because of the execution that happens on the ground. So those are the four components. And hopefully you get something out of this that helps you run your hotel better and hopefully drive much more loyalty customers because these are the most affordable customer segments that you could ever have. So in this first block, I wanted to talk about what is customer loyalty. And we have this tagline at Muse, make it remarkable. And you see this throughout our communication that we have this tagline around changing guest experiences. And when you do so, make sure that they are remarkable experiences. And we picked that word remarkable for a very specific reason, because when you go to a hotel and you say to people, I had such a remarkable experience, remarkable is better than it was a good experience. It was great. Remarkable means I'm going to talk about it because there was something that they did that made me really remember them. And it was so remarkable, I'm going to leave a review, or it's so remarkable, I'm going to tell my friends about it. So, and I think that's the core of what loyalty is, creating experiences that are truly remarkable, that help customers come back or bring other people in, like them raving about it to other customers. And then, that's also loyalty, even though that guest might not be able to return back to your hotel. Their loyalty to your brand drives other guests to visit. I talk about this hotel in Sweden that I visited recently at Hem, and the experience was so remarkable that I've now told many people on LinkedIn or in person, and several people have said, oh, I am going back there. Whilst I may not go to Sweden very often, I now have brought other customers through my customer loyalty to their brand. So that is a really important aspect of loyalty. This isn't just about the one guest that's staying with you. It's about the network effect that they bring to your brand. And through that, the emotional connection is really key. People will remember how you make them feel. So whilst you may have all the facilities at the hotel that tick all the boxes to get the booking in the first place, they will return because of the way that you made them feel. If I feel extremely welcome and recognized and all my needs were addressed in a remarkable way, I'm left with something that went above and beyond what my expectation was, because my expectation level of a hotel is now the bare minimum facilities and I can check in and check out. But when you exceed those expectations through a handwritten card or just a little nice touch or just someone who remembered something that I'd said and then asked me about it the next day, those emotional connections are really key to driving loyalty. When we talk in hospitality about the word loyalty, most people think, oh, points. I've got to save points, and then I'm going to get status, and then I can use that to get upgrades in hotels, or I can use my points to, buy a free accommodation. And whilst that is directionally correct for the major brands, I think when you're running an independent or a small group of hotels, loyalty is much more than just points collection. And this is what the big brands get wrong often. They think it is just about those upgrades and about the points collections and the credit card program. And yes, it does work, but it doesn't create genuine emotional connections. And I think that's where the brands miss out most of the time, because they are so focused on driving those programs about points that they lack the focus on really real hospitality and driving emotional connections. And this is where independent hotels can thrive. So if you think about small hotels, they are often pushed in a corner thinking, oh, should I join a major brand because I want to have a loyalty program, or could I achieve something really special myself? And I actually think you can, but you do have to work hard at driving a differentiated experience. And how do you recognize guests that are loyal to you, and what do you do for them? It doesn't need a loyalty program, but it does need a darn good PMS, a property management system that allows you to recognize your guests, or a CRM system that recognizes them digitally automatically online. And I'll give some examples of some of this that could really help drive that guest loyalty. And then lastly, loyalty is a two-way street. This is not I want my guests to be loyal to me, but there's also a loyalty that you have to your customer to drive their experiences. Like, you are selling a brand online and they come to your hotel, and you need to really work hard at earning their loyalty. And that's difficult because we lack staffing, and I had a different talk about staffing levels. But also, when you have a modern system, we try and talk about, let us take care of the automation whilst you take care of the customers, while you create these remarkable experiences. And you got to really, really work at that. Us taking care of the admin doesn't mean you should lay off half your team. You should leverage those teams to drive these very unique experiences. So as we deploy AI across our system, we're now telling you this customer cares about these things because I've seen that from their history. And that's where AI comes in. We read these profiles of guests and we tell you this is a customer with a feather allergy. So make sure that the pillows in the room are already changed, and you let them know when they check into the reception. That creates loyalty because the guest is like, oh, you remembered that I was coming. You remembered that I'm allergic to feathers, and you've already taken action on that. And that creates a remarkable experience that they will talk about. So make sure that this is a two-way street. This is not just a points program where they will just have loyalty because they're getting something out of you. It's because you made an effort to make them feel special. So if I'd say anything, loyalty is about how you make customers feel, and making things remarkable so they will return back to you in the future. So the big question is, should you join a major global brand and put a brand on the roof and join their loyalty program, or should you go at it alone? Should you drive your own independent brand and start to build out that business in that way? And there is no right or wrong answer in this. It is very much dependent on what you're looking for. If as a hotel, you're highly leveraged by a bank loan, for example, the bank may dictate to you that you have to join a global brand because they have a higher level of security for return on investments. A business with a McDonald's logo on the roof is more likely to succeed than an independent fast food business. So, if the bank requires you to join a brand, then you join a brand that makes the most sense for you. If you are a purist, if you are a hotelier that gets very excited about creating a differentiated experience, choosing a brand will limit you in your ways. They will limit your tech stack. They will limit the way in which you can drive these differentiated experiences. So if you're a purist, or if you're an entrepreneur that wants to do something different, that gets frustrated about how our industry works, then don't join a brand, because you don't get that flexibility, because the brand will dictate you how you operate. So if you think about joining a major global brand, what this does is that you get a set of customers coming in the doors that are looking for a set of facilities. So when I book my corporate stays, my secretary knows that I look for a gym. And it is very like I know that if I book a Hilton or a Marriott, I'm going to get a gym. I don't even need to go to the website. I know that the minimum facilities are there, and it's a 24/7 gym. So I can wake up at 5 and go to the gym, no question. If I book an independent brand, I have to go to the website. Often these are bad websites. I won't find that information. I go to booking.com to find whether they have a gym, and if it's a 24/7 gym, and then I end up booking on booking.com. So what I get from the brand is a level of minimum expectations that I'm going to get. I'm not going to the brand for remarkable hospitality. I'm going because I'm on a business trip and I need efficiency and I want to get in and out and I want to know that all the facilities are there and everything is working according to the minimum standard. But this is not great hospitality. This is just a facilities game. And that's where loyalty programs come in, and they're very targeted towards corporate travelers who repeatedly go to certain business destinations, who want efficiency, and they just book those hotels repeatedly. Generally, if you're a hotel in a corporate location with lots of offices around, it makes more sense to join a brand because these corporate brands, they have business relationships with the corporates. So you get into that preferred booking program. If you are a Hilton, a Best Western, or Choice, you'll have more likelihood of being accepted in the corporate booking program, driving more corporate business that you just cannot target as an independent hotel. As an independent hotel, you'd have to target that through, for example, a secretary loyalty program through the local offices, but that's a real hard slog to kind of get that business in. So if you do choose for the big global brand, you're doing it because you want to drive probably mostly corporate business, but also it comes with a real high cost. So you need to write a really strong business case that tells you, yes, you're buying the brand at a significant cost that needs to drive a huge amount of volume to pay off that cost and that loyalty. And this is just a business plan that you have to write. And it doesn't create great hospitality, but it builds longevity in your business. And if that's what you're looking for, then going with a brand might be the way to go. The brand doesn't make sense for any type of hotel in any location. If you are a countryside hotel, a brand might not make sense for you because they don't have business in the countryside to drive. Some of the brands that are in the resort locations, it might not have a huge volume of business going into those resorts. So it is very determinant on what kind of hotel you are and what's the impact. And then if you are in the countryside, it might not be a Hilton that may make sense for you, but it might be more of a leisure brand that you might want to put in there. So that's if you pick the brand. If you go at it alone, if you are an independent hotelier and you are just genuinely a hotelier that gets excited about creating a differentiated experience, you don't want to go with a brand because they dictate you what the minimum standards are and they put so many restrictions on you as a hotelier that you lose flexibility. A lot of the big global brands will tell you these are the systems you will work with. Whereas today, like for example, if I look at Muse, we have 1,000 integrations. A brand will say you're allowed to work with 20 integrations and that's it. Whereas we're like, no, try out any of these 1,000 integrations and whatever works for your hotel is the right thing to drive the right experience. So the flexibility you get with remaining independent could drive an outsized impact because the brand will drive business into the hotel, but at a high cost rate. So whilst it's predictable, it also won't have an outsized impact. And with an independent hotel, if you truly create something that is so unique and so differentiated, you could have an outsized impact because you don't have this heavy cost base in the hotel that you have to pay towards the brand to have high volume business. You could run a lower occupancy hotel, but because of your cost base and your flexibility in systems, drive a much stronger outcome. And you could have a significantly stronger outsized output by remaining independent. And this is a thing that a lot of hoteliers don't think about. But all the money that you're saving, you could invest into driving unique experiences for guests. If you think about what you pay for a typical booking for a brand or for an OTA, you're looking at 20% of the booking value. What if you take 15% of that average value and you just say, hey, I'm going to create great experiences from 15%. And if your average rate, in a hotel is, 250 euros for a 2-night stay. So it's like 120 euros for a 2-night stay. There you've got 20 euros that you could tell your team saying, you've got 20 euros per booking. to create really great experiences. What are we going to do as a hotel brand to get something really exciting going? And I think that's the conversation that we should be having. As an independent hotel, you could run a significantly better business, driving significantly more loyal fans. Like, I think that's the difference. It's not loyalty program customers. It is fans. It's people that think you've done something remarkable. They'll rave about you. They'll have other customers book you directly. And that will drive the major output of your business. So there's two distinct decisions. One is, do I want a predictable model where I'll just run a business? It'll work. It isn't the most exciting hospitality experience, but it's a very efficient, well-running business, which is the brand. Or do I want to create something that is really unique and I could potentially have an outsized impact? And then you run an independent hotel, and you should think deeply about loyalty, but it's definitely a different loyalty than collecting points. It's customer fan base that you're trying to drive. So if you have decided that you want to create a program, a loyalty program, or a program to drive recurring visits from guests, you need to start thinking about, okay, what's the program that makes sense for me? If you're a hotel group with more than 10 hotels, I would say a minimum 10, but you also need to be in primary locations, knowing that there's a very high likelihood that guests will have an overlap in the destination. So if you're thinking Europe, you're looking at Amsterdam, Paris, Berlin. Like, you want to have real consistency in the destinations that you have. If you're a secondary location hotel chain with secondary cities, it is very unlikely that you'll have travelers having overlap in what their travel plans are versus what your portfolio is, unless you are a destination hotel, unless your hotel is so unique that people choose to travel to your hotel because of your hotel. And that's very rarely the case. Most of the time, people that travel on corporate will go to the corporate location unless it's an offsite. And people that travel for leisure will go to a destination to go skiing, to go to a city trip. Very few hotels have attained this status of being a true destination hotel. So for that reason, if you are a smaller hotel group, then the traditional loyalty program with points and statuses is probably not what you're actually looking for. What you're looking for is to drive direct bookings from the website. You're looking to capture people's email addresses so that next time that they're thinking about your destination, that you're front of mind and that they'll book direct instead of going through an OTA or through a different, more expensive channel. So most hoteliers will actually be looking for that type of program. If you're building a loyalty program, you'll probably end up on a serious software like a Salesforce platform where you have to do a custom build out of what you're looking to attain. And if you are large enough, it definitely pays back and it's very, very interesting. But you need to make sure that you have enough overlap with the territories, because a typical customer will travel, minimum 30 nights to attain any serious status in these programs. And that's really hard to achieve if you don't have enough overlap in portfolio. So let's talk about building your own kind of book direct and book recurring program, because that's where you can actually build some fantastic workflows and work with fantastic partners. So what you're really trying to do is making sure that you have the best offers directly on your website. And obviously, a lot of hotels are afraid of their rate parity with the OTAs, and therefore they offer the exact same rates. But they don't realize that on the OTAs, the moment you log into the OTA, they will offer you a better rate on the OTA than they do directly. And we as hotels, like, now that there is no need for this traditional rate parity anymore, you actually can do the same thing on your website where you have the best prices on your website. And the goal is to get customers to log in. And log in literally means leave your email address, and then through that you get into a secure page. So if you just have a button saying log in with Facebook or log in with whatever Apple login, the moment they press that button, they have verified themselves. You now have their email address, and they can go into a secondary page inside your website where you can have all of your very special offers loaded, which are better offers than anything that they have. And most customers know this, and you can advertise this in the right way so that when they come into the website with partners like a Triptease, you can tell them saying, hey, we've got special offers, for members. And a membership really just means give us your email address, and then we allow you to log into the special back of house area where you can then book our hotel for these special offers. What customers are often looking for when they book direct are special rates. Obviously, the primary thing is always rates, but also a modern younger generation is looking for very different gratification. Whereas previously, I was looking for status and points that I can spend those points. Today, people are looking for much faster gratification moments. So maybe on your own website, you can say if you book direct, you get an early check-in, you get a late checkout for free, guaranteed. That's a simple benefit that you can offer to help prioritize those guests that book directly with you versus the guests that go through an OTA. What we're seeing is that a lot of tools like CRM tools help in once you've captured the email addresses, because the absolute goal of a independent brand is collect data, not just email addresses, but also the sources and the origin of business, like why they're booking you, because you start to build up knowledge about your guests. And that's what I see with most hotels is that they capture the email addresses and then they just work with MailChimp. MailChimp is the number one integrated solution on the CRM side of Muse. But with MailChimp, you have to create your own campaigns and you throw them out when the hotel needs business. So the moment you're like, right, February is looking pretty weak, let's just ram out a promotion to, all of our database about February. But the challenge is if you're a leisure hotel in a specific destination, those customers might not be looking because they came last year Christmas for a holiday. They're not looking to be there in February. So it is very much aligning the need of the customer with the time to book. And this is a continuous journey. So whereas MailChimp is effective in being able to create these great mail templates and uploading a database and then communicating with customers, we're seeing very low success rates with the traditional MailChimp campaigns because you're sending them at the time when a customer is not ready to actually book because you haven't properly segmented the databases and built in continuous flows. What's the CRM solutions we're seeing that are specifically built towards hospitality, like, for example, the two most purchased solutions are Sendine and Revenate. There, you continuously build a database. You upload all of the segments saying this customer stayed on this particular date for this particular reason. And then you build continuous campaigns. So you start to say, hey, last year, this customer booked in November for a Christmas holiday. So next year, come November, you want to send another reminder saying, hey, last year around this time, you booked our Christmas holiday. Here's a special offer for you specifically. And this really tailors to customers. And that's why you'd invest into a proper CRM versus a MailChimp, which is a very one-size-fits-all solution. And the impact of a campaign from a Revenate or a Sendine is much more effective because you've properly segmented, understand why customers are booking you, and then at the right time, you're approaching them with the right offer that entices them to come back to the hotel. Another thing we're really seeing is that offering the right perks for returning customers is really interesting because you might not want to be a loyalty member, but if you say, hey, to returning customers, we're offering very specialized perks for special occasions, that really drives stronger conversion of those bookings. And specifically, room upgrades are obviously a thing that people are looking for. And there's not that much cost to a room upgrade for a very loyal customer. Because if you think about what a customer spends, what we see across Muse, a typical customer pays about 120 to 150 euros per room per night. You'd pay an OTA for that booking about 20% probably. So you're looking already at about 30 euros that you're paying to that customer. If they book directly with you and they are a recurring customer, you're not paying pay-per-click ads. So you've got a budget of about 30 euros to give them something. And a free upgrade or an early check-in is a very logical thing to give away to a customer that is giving you his or her loyalty. And I think that's really the goal of a Book Direct program, making sure you always recognize a returning customer by making sure that you capture their email addresses and that you segment them correctly, that you use a CRM to target them. And then when they walk in the door, you call it out. you saying, I see that you've returned and you've booked direct. Thank you so much for your direct booking. I've actually upgraded you into a higher category room thanks to your loyalty. That means a lot. If you can bring a message across in that way, that means an incredible amount to a customer because you've now recognized that they are a loyal customer without them having to wave a gold card in your face to say, hey, I'm very important to you. It's actually more powerful if the hotel recognizes the guest than when the guest has to tell you that they want to be recognized, which is the traditional loyalty program. And I think that's the thing that independent hotels that want to drive recurring customers should focus on training the team, using the data to really drive that experience in recognizing the customer, acknowledging that they have booked direct, and then giving them a benefit. And they will remember this. If you do this in the right way, they will remember this and they'll come back for that third or even the fourth time in the future if you do this in the right way. Right, so we're building a loyalty program or a program in which we're trying to drive customer loyalty. I think that's a very different thing from building a loyalty program being points and status to driving customer loyalty, a customer wanting to book again because they actually really love the hotel. And I think the biggest shift here is about making sure that first of all we recognize the customer. You can only recognize them if we have their historic data. So obviously when they've booked direct, we have their profile with their email address and we recognize this customer. If they have booked through an OTA, we can't recognize them because that email address is a different email address from the personal email because the OTA sends us a anonymous email address that becomes inactive the moment the guest departs. So there's no way to continue communicating with this guest. So we've deployed in our online check-in feature, the moment we recognize one of those anonymous email addresses, we say, hey guest, please give us your real email address so that we can merge those profiles and basically collect more information and then obviously target this guest afterwards. So we do this automatically through the online check-in, through the kiosk, but a lot of guests still check in on the reception desk with our team members. So it's all about teaching the team members that we need to get the real contact details of these customers because that needs to feed into our CRM that starts to drive the communication with the guests automatically after the guest has departed. So the first most important thing is that always having a clean database, capturing email addresses, and try and match and merge. So even if a guest has one of those booking.com emails, they might have stayed there before and they might say this on check-in because you asked them. And you can then match and merge. We're about to release a really exciting new match and merge feature that helps automate this. But also, I think solutions like Revenate and Sendine have solutions where they help merge profiles across the database because the cleaner the database is, the more powerful it becomes. Because one of the most dreaded questions I'm asked often is like, have you ever stayed with us before? And I'll be like, yes, 20 times. But hotels just don't recognize me because of their legacy systems that don't connect the dots on all of the data points that exist. So firstly, it's about making sure that you have clean profiles. And then secondly, it's about building real information that we have. So where Muse comes in is we drive huge amounts of efficiency. We're like, let us take care of some of the really boring data entry parts because that's what we do really well so that you as a customer can focus on engaging with the customer. The question we always ask on checkouts, it's, was everything okay with your stay? And from the words used in that question, we intend to say, I'm not looking for a real response. I just want you to say yes so that I can move on with the checkout and give you the bill and then have you leave the hotel. As a hotelier, that is one of the most powerful moments. When we say, was everything okay with your stay? We're looking for a yes, preferably. And if they do say yes, that's a great moment to ask a follow-up question saying, next time you stay with us, what could we do better? And I think that's a really powerful question because you're not asking for a yes, no answer. We're asking for real input. One, you're implying saying, I'm hoping you're going to come back next time. And they might say this. And then secondly, you're asking for real feedback, and that information needs to go into the system because we now can use that information to help tailor the experience at the moment they walk through the door or the moment we start targeting them through our CRMs. That information becomes incredibly powerful, especially with AI accelerating. While some of your CRMs might not yet be able to leverage that information, they will very soon because this is moving at a pace that we can't comprehend. So the more information we start to capture, the more valuable it becomes for an independent hotel. I want to briefly show you inside our system what this looks like so that you get a sense of how this works. So let me open a demo system. This is a demo hotel, so it's pretty empty, not running great occupancies. But I think the most important thing I want to show you is this is a hotel that has multiple services. So this is the parking that I've just logged into, but they also have a stay service, a meeting room, bicycle rental, co-working. And why I want to show you this is because a PMS, a modern PMS, is no longer just bedrooms. A modern hotels has lots of facilities and they shouldn't be sitting in disjointed systems. They should all be sitting in one singular system so that we start to capture the data. Because if I know that, for example, I saw in this parking lot, I had a guest. Let's see. Here you've got Matt Well. And I instantly saw these two icons saying this is a returning customer. And he was a previous complaint. So the icons help trigger me to know exactly, hey, returning customer, VIP, complaint, disabled customer. So that's, from a service point of view, really helpful. At the same time, I know that he's booked a parking lot. That's valuable information because if my CRM knows this, I can target this customer because I know that they're in driving distance. So they could come for a weekend, they could come for the different school holidays. If I know that Matt Well has children of a certain age and I know when their holidays are, I can target campaigns. So the more information we capture about these guests, the more valuable the database becomes. Let's have a look at his profile. So what you see is it's loading an AI note on the profile, Smart Tip, and it does this every time you open the profile. So it starts to scrape through all of the information we have on this customer. And you see here, for example, notable background, previously complained about not getting an upgrade, expressed dissatisfaction about the speed of check-in, spoke to a manager. He was promised a complimentary upgrade. That's important information. And today he has an early check-in, so make sure that the room is ready for that time. All of this information is coming from a number of sources. So it would come from the general profile that's here. You have some car information in here, but also you can go into the internal section. So here you see previous complaints, returning customer, the note of the complaints that's physically there. You see the loyalty code. So if you have a loyalty program, we will start to track it automatically there. He's lactose intolerant. And then also all of the history. So if he stayed with us before, the note said, hey, stayed with us before, and it knows that because he had historic reservations here. And I think all of these little pieces of reservation notes, profile notes, previous bills, all of that feeds into this AI note. And we start to surface this very shortly in all parts of the system. So the more information you and your team start to capture from your customers, the more valuable the database becomes so that you can really change the way that customers experience your hotel. And that's really the key point of all of this. We have to capture information because we now want to drive the customer to book directly. And you only do that through creating these remarkable moments where you've really recognized that particular person and get them to book directly with you. Let me stop sharing. So one, making sure you've got clean profiles. Two, making sure that you start capturing information, that you have a CRM that connects with the data points that you have. And this is an important conversation to have with your CRM partner. What data points of news are you able to connect with? And how do you leverage those information? Then build your campaigns based on the segmentation, what you know about the customer, and help drive continuous campaigns. To make sure that you capture these guests to come and book directly with you. And then when they check in, acknowledge that you've recognized them coming into the hotel, that you've already anticipated that they are allergic to feathers or that they are lactose intolerant. So make that reservation in the restaurant and already inform them so that you really build a customized, personalized experience. And that's ultimately the thing that will get loyalty for independent hotels, really standing out from all of these big brands. You have the power to buy the most modern system, the most modern tech stack that connects all the data points, that uses AI to create these campaigns to get customers back in. And I think that's ultimately what will help drive success for your hotel. I hope you've enjoyed this. This was a long session, but obviously, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. I don't want to lose track of how we will leverage AI in our industry. I think it is very, very powerful. But we do have to talk to customers to capture this information, and we then do have to build workflows on top of it. And I think the most successful hotels in the future will actually be the ones that are allowed to use all these modern tech stacks. And that won't be the big brands, because the big brands want to control all of that narrative. I actually think that independent hotels or small groups could be incredibly powerful in driving some of the best hotel experiences. And I'm hoping that this in some way contributes to that. Thank you.